Have you ever planned something so much that you never actually started it? Maybe you wanted to open a business, but kept waiting until you had the perfect plan. Maybe you wanted to learn a new skill, but told yourself you'd start next month, then next year. Every day, your mind builds 100 what-ifs, and every what-if adds one more reason to wait. You tell yourself you're being careful, but really, you're just afraid. The thing you're most afraid of is happening anyway, just slower and quieter, one delayed day at a time. Today, I want to share a story that changed how I think about waiting for the perfect moment. It's simple, it's honest, and it carries a lesson most people only learn after wasting years planning a life they never lived. My name is Farhan, and welcome to Zervan Tales, the place where stories stay with you. Now, let's begin. In a small town surrounded by wheat fields lived a young man named Adam. Adam's father had run a small bakery for 20 years before he passed away, leaving Adam the shop and a notebook of recipes. The bakery wasn't just a building. It was the last piece of his father he had left. Adam promised himself he would reopen it, and reopen it perfectly, exactly the way his father would have wanted. But every time he thought about starting, his mind filled with questions. What if people don't like my bread? What if I run out of money? What if I ruin what my father built instead of honoring it? Months passed. Adam read every book he could find, studying late into the night. He drew business plans, crossed them out, drew new ones. But the ovens stayed cold. The shop stayed closed and silent, gathering dust on shelves that once smelled like warm bread every morning. Whenever his friends asked when he would open, Adam always had a reason. I'm still planning. I want to be fully ready. Across the street lived a baker named Elias, who had run a modest but well-known bread stall for 30 years. Elias wasn't flashy, but he was skilled. His bread was consistent, his customers loyal, and
trusted his stall more than any shop in town. One afternoon, Adam visited him. "Tell me, how did you know you were ready to start?" Elias smiled. "Ready? Nobody is ever fully ready. I started while I was still learning, and I got better because I never stopped." Elias picked up a piece of dough and placed it in Adam's hands. "Does this dough look perfect right now?" "It's messy, uneven," Adam said. Elias smiled. "Exactly. If I wait for it to perfect itself without ever touching it, it never becomes bread." That night, Adam told himself just one more week of planning. One more week became one more month. One more month became nearly a year. To keep the bakery afloat, Adam had spent almost everything he'd saved. New equipment, ingredients that expired unused, brief renovations nobody ever saw. One evening, going through his father's old ledger, Adam realized the truth. He had spent nearly all the money his father left him, and the door still hadn't opened once. That same week, Elias announced he was expanding his own stall into a full bakery in the very same street Adam had been preparing to open in. This time, panic wasn't imagined. It was real. Adam had delayed so long that the person most capable of doing it well was about to do it first. That night, Adam sat alone in the empty shop, surrounded by his father's old tools, feeling like he had failed him.
He whispered to the quiet room, "I've lost almost everything, and I haven't even started." He walked to Elias's stall long after it had closed. "I think I've ruined
everything my father built," Adam said quietly. "Do you know why my stall has lasted 30 years, even now as I finally expand? Because I started small, stayed imperfect in public, and let people watch me improve instead of hiding until I disappeared completely. You didn't fail because you weren't ready. You failed because you waited to feel ready before ever showing up." Early the next morning, before overthinking could stop him again, he opened the doors of his father's old bakery for the very first time. The first loaves were slightly uneven, some edges darker than others. But for the first time in nearly a year, warm bread smell drifted down the quiet street, filling the town again, like a memory returning to life. An elderly woman, a longtime customer of Adam's father, stopped mid-step, closed her eyes, and breathed it in. "I haven't smelled that in years," she said. She bought a loaf, imperfect edges and all. The next morning, she returned, not out of curiosity, but because she wanted
Word
spread
more.
slowly. Not because the bread was flawless, but because it was consistent. And because Adam kept adjusting, kept showing up. Meanwhile, Elias's new bakery opened with real skill behind it. Polished recipes, experienced hands, a genuinely strong product. It succeeded too, exactly as it deserved to. But there was room in town for both, because people didn't just want the best bread. They wanted the bakery that reminded them why they loved bread in the first place. Months later, the same elderly woman returned holding a small basket. "I baked something for you," she said, placing warm biscuits on the counter. "You gave me back a piece of this town I thought I'd lost," she said. Adam finally understood. His father's legacy had been rebuilt through courage, not a perfect plan. Years later, a young woman new to the town asked him, "How did you know exactly when to start?" Adam smiled, dusting flour from his hands. "I didn't. I was scared, and I'd already lost more than I could afford to lose. But I learned something that changed everything. The perfect moment doesn't arrive before you start. It's built after you start, one imperfect step at a time." Overthinking feels like preparation, but most of the time, it's simply fear wearing a disguise. Ask yourself instead, what is one small, imperfect step I can take today? Perfect never opens the door. Started does. If this story changed
How you think about overthinking, subscribe to Zervan Tales. I'll see you in the next story. Goodbye.